Thanks for joining us today on Coastal Progressive and Rainbow Forum on Society Bites Radio. Today, we will be speaking with SHEILA WEISS, and she is the Secretary for PFLAG. Welcome, SHEILA.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me today. I'm really happy to be here.
Great. I want to start off with some questions here for you, and I'm going to let you expand on those, and then we will have our chat here. PFLAG is very familiar. What is it really?
Yeah, PFLAG is an organization that started in 1972, actually, by a mom, and that's simple. Jean Manford had marched in the New York City's Christopher Street Liberation Day March, which is the precursor of the Pride Parade in New York City. Her son had come out to her, and so she marched with him. And after the parade, several of his friends and other people that had marched in the parade came up to her and they said, "Please talk to my parents. Please talk to my family. I need this kind of support." So in 1973, March 1973, they held their very first meeting. And it was an organization that met in Greenwich Village at the Metropolitan Dwayne Methodist Church, which is now the Church of the Village, with approximately 20 people. Very similar to, Steve, as you remember, 3 years ago, about 20 people met in Sarasota for our local PFLAG chapter. And basically, the rest is history.
Excellent. So can you tell me a little bit about that then? What's happened since then, the PFLAG?
Sure. As I said, it started with about 20 people, and by word of mouth, PFLAG started. It expanded, and in the next years, other people started attending, and more groups started springing up. And by 1980, PFLAG was known as Parents Flag, actually, and it began to distribute information and resources, printed materials to communities, educational institutions, and churches. And actually, in the early 80s, their first sponsor came out to the general public. Dear Abby mentioned PFLAG as a resource for one of her readers. And with that, they received over 7,000 requests for information. And it was one of the biggest grassroots growing organizations that by 1982, it actually incorporated as a nonprofit in the state of California. And then in the 80s, they were able to organize and go against, I'm sure you remember, Anita Bryant's crusade against her anti-gay crusade. They were able to squash that. And they were able also to become involved in the U.S. military's efforts to discharge lesbians from the military. So they continued to grow and expand out into rural communities where they were really needed. And in 1990 grew so much that they moved to Washington, D.C., where PFLAG national organizations still exist with over 400 local chapters throughout the country.
Excellent. And, Kate, you're not LGBTQ, but can you tell us why you were involved a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not gay and I'm not trans. But at the beginning of what I just said about a mom, Steve, I'm a mom. And I happen to be a mom of 2 lesbians. Now, I didn't always know that they were gay, and I've had parents tell me, I've known since my child was 2 or 3 that they were gay or trans. I did not know, but I am involved. It started, though, before that I knew that they were gay. I was an advocate for the LGBTQ community. I grew up in a family that was very conservative in West Virginia. My dad was a Methodist minister, so you can imagine how conservative my family was. And I had a cousin, a very dear, dear, close cousin, 2 years older than me, who in college came out as gay, and it was after he'd had a horrible drug experience. And I do believe that the drugs were taken, and he turned to drugs because he couldn't be gay in his Pentecostal family. After 3 attempts at the age of 26, my dear cousin was successful in taking his own life, and it affected me. I had recently married and was expecting my first child, and I just knew that as a mother, I could never turn against a child. I had friends that in my church whose sons came out as gay, and they were horrified. And I said, no, these are your children. We need to support. And actually, one of the children turned out to be a Methodist minister that got defrocked, but he made the decision to be who he truly was. My daughters, I did not find out until college and post-college that either one was gay. It was a shock. My older one, when I discovered that, it was a shock, and it was hard for me. I didn't feel like I could share with my family, my sisters, and the community. And at the time, I was working in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm from before I moved to Sarasota, in a very large corporation, and had some really good gay friends with whom I worked. And one of the guys said, my goodness, girl, you need to come out of the closet as an ally. He said, you need to come out as a mother of a lesbian. You need to embrace this. And he was right. And it really, really helped me. I was a charter member of a diversity network at this company. And we marched in the Columbus, Ohio Pride Parade. I'd help organize the parade, and I became an advocate. And I was very, very proud of that. My younger daughter, in 2011, came out to me accidentally in a letter she wrote to me that she did not mean to send to me, an email. And I was hurt. And I wasn't upset that she was gay, because I think I kind of always knew. But I was upset because she couldn't tell me. And I want to help make that path easier for people. And I want to help people become advocates themselves and know that their story is their story and that it is okay. And that's why I am involved, because I'm a mom.
Excellent. That's a moving story, and I hope it reaches some people that they understand this. Tell me, how can anyone support the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, I think, as I said, and PFLAG. Well, PFLAG is a good conduit. It makes it a little bit more easy to come out as an ally. And I think basically that's it. You have to not be afraid. I mean, it's nervous. It's a nervous thing. It's nerve-wracking. But you have to come out and be able to say, this is normal and this is okay. And whatever those fears are, and I think people have prejudices against the LGBTQ plus community and the people because it's not normal for them. Back in 2008, right after this documentary came out for The Bible Tells Me So, which I watched, and it really changed the way I viewed the LGBTQ community. Being gay is not normal for me, but being straight is not normal for my daughters. And when you look at it or try to present that to someone who is a straight, heterosexual, let them know that the uncomfortable, the discomfort for them is the same thing for a gay or trans or bisexual person to try to be heterosexual. It's not their normal. Whatever the fear is, whether if it's guided by religion or society or whatever it is, you need to face those fears and do away with them. There's nothing to be afraid of. PFLAG is an organization that provides materials and resources and education and good old fellowship, whether it's by taking their classes, attending the meetings, going to the functions and events that we support. It allows people to be with like individuals, which is very, very important when you know that your story is heard and you can be familiar with other people.
Excellent. Can you tell me a little bit about, okay, PFLAG has been around for a number of years. Can you relate some of the progress that's being made and the relevancy it has today, and why it's important that we have chapters in the local communities where people can use it as a resource? Can you give me some examples or some ideas you have in that area?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. As I mentioned earlier, first of all, we and our local chapter in the Sarasota, Manatee area counties, we do support that surrounding area. We are a nonprofit, and as a nonprofit, we cannot support any particular candidates or tell people how to vote or who to vote for. But what we can do is support the politics and the government in urging those individuals in equal rights and protections for the transgender community members, the gay, the lesbian, and the bisexual community members. We've progressed through the years, and as I said, the equal rights, the religious right, the defensive, Pat Robertson, squashing that message that he was trying to portray. They added in 1998, PFLAG National added transgender people into its mission. Back in the 70s, it was the gay and lesbian community. Now that's been expanded. It has the asexual and the intersexual people as well into their spectrum. In 2004, the PFLAG organization officially changed its name from Parents, Family, and Friends of Lesbians Gay to simply PFLAG. It's all inclusive now. And the change was made to accurately reflect PFLAG members, and that PFLAG serves and is all inclusive. All are welcome. You don't even have to be just an ally. You can be a member of the community itself. A lot of the things that we're seeing in Sarasota specifically, Manatee County specifically, are transgender parents of transgender youth. It's become more prevalent and is becoming stronger. And as you well know, in politics, it's become even more apparent that the transgender community needs our support. In our small group here in PFLAG Sarasota, we have a mother of a transgender daughter. We have another woman whose daughter is in her 40s that transitioned just last year, and she has come to us for support. Since that time, her husband has passed away, and we continue to support her. We have myself, a mother of two lesbians. We have a woman who has a straight son, severely autistic son, and a gay son. And she is part of our PFLAG chapter and quite an advocate within the community. We have gay people. We have folks who have gay family members. We have many parents who come at times because their children are suffering in school today, are being bullied not just by students, but by neighbors, grown-ups in their community, parents whose children have had to change schools 3 times because parents of other children are bullying. So it is very, very relevant today. It is very much needed today. We continue to work in the community. We have a table in our resources and folks manning the table at Manatee Pride, at Sarasota Pride, at the Harvey Milk Festival, the different festivals around town.